What's going on, guys? Welcome to the video. In this video, I want to talk about 4 things that I wish I knew before becoming a professional footballer. So let's get into the video. So the first thing that I wish I knew was that majority of professional footballers will struggle with confidence at some point in their career, and most of them will struggle with confidence multiple times throughout their career. As a younger player, I kind of viewed all pros as having a lot of confidence. I kind of thought that they got there for a reason, they understood their abilities, and majority of them were very confident in their abilities, and it was the minority of them that experienced confidence issues. So for me, when I was training with the professional team for the very first time, and I was really having self-doubt about my abilities and having almost imposter syndrome, I really thought that I was among that minority. And honestly, imposter syndrome is something that I've struggled with my entire life. I didn't really have the most successful youth career. I kind of flew under the radar. I didn't kind of flow under the radar. I flew under the radar my entire youth career. I was always a late bloomer. And so when I came up later in my career, I always viewed other players at the college level, on my semi-pro teams, on my professional teams, as coming from a more experienced background than me. And so I kind of thought that I was a fraud and that I was lucky to be here. And all these players deserved to be here, that they were confident, and I wasn't as experienced or wasn't as competent as everybody kind of perceived me to be. But the thing that really helped me cope with that and helped me get that under control was understanding that every single player, or almost every single player, deals with that in one way, shape, or form. The more teammates I've had, the more long talks I've had with those teammates, the more podcasts I've hosted, the more documentaries that I've watched, I've come to realize that this is a very normal thing that players struggle with. For example, in the Sunderland Till I Die documentary, Johnny Williams, one of the best players on that Sunderland team when they were in the championship, talked with a sports psychologist and had a very deep conversation with the psychologist.
In my 6-7 years since turning pro, I've had a lot of ups and downs. I think sometimes I do struggle, maybe just being stronger, believing in myself the whole time, to kind of keep believing I am good enough to be where I am. I guess I am scared to kind of lose the ball.
Go on.
Scared to miss. Scared of failing.
Okay.
When I saw that for the first time, I kind of realized, wow, there's much better players than me out there in the world struggling with the same type of things that I struggle with. The same exact way goes for Joe Bryan, a player at Fulham.
I might be earning whatever, driving whatever, wearing whatever, but I still question whether I'm good enough to be where I am. I still question myself.
And even in this article from The Guardian from The Secret Footballer, he dives into confidence issues among footballers. It reads, all players have suffered from a loss of confidence, some more glaringly than others. The level of self-doubt that wraps itself around a player is perplexing for a number of reasons, and for a time it is more influential than everything you have ever achieved or done right in the game up to that point. It is more powerful than an entire stadium singing your name. Quite simply, it eats away at you. I should know, I've been there, and it's a chastening experience that turns you into a person and player that you don't recognize. On the pitch, everything that was natural to me, all those things that I did without thinking before, suddenly became inexplicably complicated. Your game starts to disintegrate, and the longer it goes on, the more pressure builds. And so to sum up, I wish that I understood that majority of players go through these periods of high confidence and low confidence. Majority of players out there in the world question their abilities, have levels of self-doubt, and even have a little bit of that imposter syndrome. That I wasn't alone, or I wasn't a rare exception, a minority amongst all the footballers out there. I think that if I would have known that at a younger age, that would have helped me feel more confident on the field. The second thing that I wish I knew was that as a professional footballer, you need to start viewing yourself as a business asset. It's obvious. Everybody talks about this all the time, how you go from an amateur player playing for fun, and all of a sudden you make that transition to the professional game, and now you are a player with a dollar sign over his head. This is a business. It's not all for fun anymore, and you need to get results. As a younger player, I understood that on a surface level, but I really didn't understand what that came with, what that entailed, and how I needed to change my behavior now as a business asset. Like I said, you literally have a dollar sign amount over over your head about how much you are worth as a player. And this adds a whole bunch of added pressure to every single time you step on the field. This means that every time you're training on the field, you better perform better than players that are paid or worth less than you, or you need to perform up to the level of players that are worth more than you if you want to be worth as much as they are. There's this constant comparison between you and your teammates, players in other leagues, and to your dollar amount. Even when things are going well, it can even add more added pressure. As you start performing well and your dollar amount increases over the years, this means that your performance also needs to increase. And anytime you start to plateau or you start to get into a rut of poor performances, now you have a farther way to drop back down to zero. It also means that a bad performance from you that cost your team a win, or cost your team from being in the playoffs, or cost your team from getting relegated or staying up in the league or whatever, now directly impacts people's lives. Something as simple as letting in a goal can now mean your teammates don't get a shutout bonus, or they don't get the win bonus. And these bonuses directly impact their lives. This is what they use to feed their families. If you perform bad over the course of a season and now this impacts your team's success and now they're going to get relegated or you don't make playoffs, this can directly impact multiple people's jobs and lives. And finally, it impacts all of the fans that have quite literally put blood, sweat, and tears into this club and have been supporting you, their time, their money, everything, and your performances affect their happiness. It definitely was a wake-up call when I made that transition, and I realized that now just a poor performance from me doesn't just mean that I'm upset after the game just for my personal reasons. It is affecting dozens, if not hundreds or thousands of people. The third thing that I wish I knew before becoming a pro footballer was that positive distractions can actually help your performance on the field. I've talked about this many times before, but I really didn't realize how much time as a pro footballer you spend just recovering and resting your body for the next day of training, the next workout, the next game. The life of a pro is like 10% jam-packed action, full focus, complete exertion, and 90% sitting around doing nothing and just waiting for the next day. There's another great article from The Secret Footballer in The Guardian, and it's titled, "Time is the Great Enemy to the Professional Player." This article again sums up so many thoughts and feelings that I've never really been able to express, but it says, "Those who say time is a healer have probably never played professional football. To us players, time is the great enemy in so many ways. Some fans have a hard time getting their heads around the fact that we only train for 2 hours a day and have Wednesdays off, but those 2 hours are at full tilt. Imagine cramming everything you do in a full working day into 2 hours. The chances are that you'd go home and crash out, and that's what we do. Hours on a sofa, eating pasta in front of mind-numbing TV shows while we wait for our muscles to repair so we can do it again the next day." So with all this free time, I think it's very important to shift your focus to a positive distraction that's going to have a positive impact on your mental health, your happiness, and just your performance in general. And these positive distractions can be anything from pets to a girlfriend or wife to golf, going out to coffee with some friends, reading books, playing with your kids, going out to a movie, going on dinner dates, playing FIFA with teammates, even starting a side business, a podcast, TikTok, whatever. I've gone through periods of my life where I didn't have a positive distraction to shift my focus at all. And when things are going right and you're playing well, it's all sunshine and rainbows. It's not a problem at all. However, if you get injured, you start to perform worse, you get into a rut or whatever, it can really double down because you have nothing to help shift the focus, distract you at all. And you get into a really, really deep, dark place because there's nothing else in your life. It's just football, football, football. Your performance is the only thing you can think about. There's nothing to shift your mind at all. And you're in your own apartment by yourself and all you're thinking about is how things on the field aren't going right.
Some days I'm so down thinking my season's over. And I think that's a lot to do with living on my own. I think sometimes I do have time to think about things. I don't have anyone here that I live with. Thought about getting a dog, but just to keep me company.
But it's really important that these distractions stay a positive distraction that help you shift your focus for a little bit and help balance out your life. I think many of these can shift to a negative distraction if they're not handled the right way. For example, I think that the wrong girlfriend can actually be emotionally draining, and that can actually lead to poor performances on the field if you're constantly thinking about all the drama that comes along with that relationship. Or video games can become a negative distraction if it's keeping you up late at night and affecting your sleep and your recovery. There's also just strictly negative distractions like binging drugs and alcohol, or doing activities with a really high risk of injury like skateboarding, snowboarding, cliff jumping, whatever. But like I said, if you find a positive distraction that can help you balance out your life and help take your mind off of the game at times in the right ways for the right amounts, I think that it can lead to better performances on the field. A lot of people give Gareth Bale a lot of shit for golfing, but I think it is a positive distraction in his life, and I think it helps him on the field. And he has a great quote in an interview he did about the most important life lesson that he's learned, and he basically answered, always take time to recharge. You can't pour from an empty glass. So what I wish I knew as a younger player is a positive distraction in the right amounts can help you recharge mentally and help you perform on the field. The fourth and final thing that I wish I knew before becoming a pro footballer was that nobody cares as much about your career as you. Cristiano Ronaldo kind of hints at this topic in this really short video right here.
I am my mental coach, my nutritionist, my doctor. If you do the right things, you're gonna be better than other persons.
And I think that can be misconstrued. I don't think he's meaning that, if you break your leg, that you should be the one to reset the bone and build the cast and everything. But I think he's saying that you need to invest in your own career and learn about the muscles, learn about the body, learn about mental health so that you can take control of your career and it's in your hands. This is something that I've really done throughout my career, and it's helped me immensely. I've been relentless at pursuing knowledge about the body, about training, about working out, about fitness, about nutrition. I even became a certified nutritionist for the simple fact that I wanted to understand how I could put the food that I needed into my body and recover the fastest way. I still consult with dietitians and talk with nutritionists and take their advice and everything, but I wanted to really learn the stuff myself so that I could really understand why I had to eat certain foods. In the same exact way, I watch film with my team, I do tactical analysis with my team, but I also review all of my own games, go over every single one of my touches, and watch other fullbacks play at the highest level and learn from their game on my own so I can take that tactical analysis in my own hands and care about my career and my development as a player. In the same exact way, anytime I go through an injury or I have to do rehab or I'm with a physical therapist, I'm constantly trying to learn and ask questions about why we're doing these exercises, why we're doing these stretches, so I can understand the body better so that I can prevent this in the future, or I can nip this in the bud earlier, or I can help other players that might be starting to have this experience. I think that all of the physios and the nutritionists and dietitians and your coaches all have your career in mind, but their time is split amongst many people and they also have to focus on their own lives. Nobody's gonna be holding your hand watching what you're cooking for dinner every single night. Nobody's gonna be with you at every single time during every single injury to walk you through to make sure you're doing every single rehab exercise. Your coach has to worry about the tactical understanding of 25 players on the team and can't just focus on the right fullback position with all of his time. You have to spend a lot of time learning and seeking knowledge because you really do only get one shot at your career. Another great example of this is with agents. When your career is on the up and things are going well and you're performing well, tons of different agents and people want to reach out to you, to connect with you, to represent you, and to help you find better opportunities. However, as soon as your performance slips, as soon as you get injured and you're without a team, all of a sudden nobody's there anymore. And it can be very hard to find another opportunity. And in those instances, sometimes you can't rely on somebody else to kickstart your career again. And I had to go and basically be my own agent, make my own highlight videos, send out my own CV, reach out and try to find opportunities to get my career up and going again. So to sum up the 4 things that I really wish I knew: everybody struggles with confidence at some point in their career. You have to shift your mindset and become a business asset as a player. Positive distractions in the right amounts can help your performance on the field, and nobody cares as much about your career as you do. So anyway, guys, I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit the thumbs up button, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video. All right, guys, peace.